All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering content today because AP World never dies. All right. We obviously are going on in spring break in an hour and a half. We have no school on Monday of the week we return, which is a blessing, and I don't use the word blessings. And Tuesday we have a quiz on 1 through 20. Neil, did you hear that?
Yes.
You have a quiz on 1 through 20 on Tuesday when we return. And then on Wednesday we have 25 questions in 27 minutes.
27.
That's the lowest we go now. That's it. That's the bottom of the barrel. Isn't that so exciting? What's that?
What's it for like the actual exam? Like how much time?
You'll have like 47 questions and you'll have 50 minutes to do it. Which is why we do this.
Are
Does
they
that
like
make
all
sense?
primaries or no?
They're chunked primaries. You know how I have usually one for 3 questions? That's what it is throughout all of them.
Are there
But
any like regular questions without?
very very. Because theirs are balanced tests perfectly to this specific formula, and I can't do that because I'm carving them out of specific sections. Does that make sense? So, but when we get to our review test, they'll be more balanced. I keep saying that the end of 25 question test is coming.
Aren't they gonna be like 30?
No, they're gonna be 35.
Bro.
When have you ever said that?
Like, I'm sorry.
Well, no one's ever asked. I keep saying the end of 25 question test
You
is
said the
coming.
end of 28 minutes.
Well, yeah, for 25
never
questions,
said
and then it will go to 35 to 38 minutes.
That is not okay.
You never asked. You literally have not asked. I'm very specific
How are we
with my
supposed to know?
language.
How are we supposed to know though? Why would we just randomly ask? Be like, wait, are there question tests coming up?
You didn't notice that your Scantron is 35?
Okay, well, like, I didn't the
really
whole
think
year
about
we
it. It's
had
review. It's review. Michael, the only thing that people on YouTube will be able to hear is your banging. You know that, yeah? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a 25 question test in 27 minutes. That'll be the shortest it will be for the rest of the year. So, because you have about a 47 question test, you have 50 minutes to do it. This is the time we've been training for. So we are at the bottom. Isn't that exciting? Unless you think we should try to beat the timing they're asking.
I think we should.
46? Like we can do it. Just kidding. We're not doing that. All right. So please make sure that you are ready to go once you return because we are moving after this. Oh, yesterday, by the way, was your last primary source ever.
Of the year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, I didn't really put it together until 8th period. The boys are crying in the back. Are you okay? I cannot wait till Tuesday. I am so excited.
They're not even funny. They just find each other funny.
Logan, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you are ready to go when you come back from spring break because we are going very quickly. You only have 1 more week of new content. You have 1 more focus, 1 more map. It's not a map though, but it's not a primary, and then we're done. Yes.
Do our review tests like count?
Yes. Yes. We have literally 6 weeks of review. There's obviously points on the table. Moving forward.
How does like you know how they take the 2 quarter grades and the exam grade?
Yes.
So do you have to get a 5 for? Does that count as an A?
No. You don't have. We don't have a midterm in here. There's no final exam in here. You're done.
So is it just like A and B averages to
Yes.
an A? Okay.
Yeah. So if a year-long AP, you don't have it. But if you're taking AP Gov, you have 2 exams. You have you have a final exam for the Hillsborough County. But in AP World, we're done. May 12th, May 13th, we're watching movies and eating. Done. So there's nothing else for us. Okay.
May 20th.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks after. So we only have like a week of doing nothing together, but that's okay. Yes,
You
Neil.
still have to teach your honors class.
Yes, I still have to teach my honors class. But don't worry, your girl's taking a vacay right after our exam.
Like during
So
the
is
week.
Mr. Ren.
Yeah. Like during the week.
Remember
Honors will be fine. Don't worry for them. Economics, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Okay, I've already covered some of this content because last week's content was pretty short, so I started a little bit of it. So some of this is already in your notes. So I would make a star and write some of this is in week 27 notes. For instance, we already talked about free market economies. We talked about how Reagan and Thatcher are going to be making tax cuts for the poor, for the wealthy, not for the poor. That would be wild. Making tax cuts for the rich in order to have what we would call here in the United States under Reagan trickle-down economics. Okay, we are also going to see that we are going to relax our. We're also going to see that we're going to be increasing government assistance. All these things are from week 27 notes. All right, economic and the global age. Chile, I've already given you notes on this. Chile is going to be overthrown in a coup by the United States government in 1971. Okay, eventually they'll be completely overthrown in 1979. We've already kind of talked about this. China, we have notes in week 27 as well. Okay, he's going to become the architect of modern day China. I think we can all agree China's doing pretty damn well under him. However, a counterpoint to him is going to be how oppressive his authoritarian regime is going to be. And a perfect example is Tiananmen Square, where they are going to kill about 10,000 protests. That's the numbers they're giving us, so we can only imagine it's significantly more. Okay, now economics in the global age is new. Let's do it. Okay, so make sure in your notes you do have a little bit of week 27 is in there because there's a ton of stuff in week 28. Here we go. When we're talking about global economies, when you're writing global economies are completely interconnected. When one country experiences an issue, it causes ripple effects. So, no country in the world right now is completely independent except probably one. And what is that one country? Guys, what's the most isolated country in the world? Oh God, what is it, Neil? North Korea. North Korea. Because of all the sanctions and all the stuff, we refuse. What is surely becoming number 2 as of 2022, 20 days ago? Russia. Russia's having lots of problems, and countries are threatening to start pulling passports, as in they were rejecting Russian citizens from coming into their country to continue to punish, and that is a huge step. Okay, so the interconnectedness of these countries and economies mean everyone is dependent. So for instance, we're punishing Russia right now by invading Ukraine. What has gone up significantly? Gas, absolutely. They think it's going to hit $5 this weekend. By the end of this weekend, they think it's going to hit 5 as a state average here in Florida. So if you need gas, is it better to go immediately or wait? Immediately. If you're buying tickets to go on a vacation, you should buy them today. Don't wait a couple weeks, because in 2 weeks, the price could be even higher. Because remember, jet fuel is a fuel as well, and those prices are going up as well. So keep that in mind. There's a big thing about it this morning. So when we're talking about economics in the global age, we're talking about our industrialized powers. You need to write this down. Industrialized powers are U.S., France, Germany, and England. They're called the industrialized powers because they were the first to industrialize. They are transitioning. This is huge. Underline it. They are transitioning from a manufacturing-based economy to a what? I don't like that term. There's another term we use in AP World. That's an AP Human thing. In AP World, what type of economy do we live in now in 2022 in Florida? What do you got, Izzy?
Service economy?
It's a service-based economy. Now, Catherine, you're going to hear a little bit. Our service-based economy is essentially moving money, write this down, from one place to another, and it is mostly based on knowledge-based companies. What does that mean? It means the United States is really no longer producing things anymore. How many factories do we really have here in Tampa, Florida? When you graduate high school, do you have the choice of working in a factory or pretty much only go to college? Here in Tampa, if you just wanted to live in Tampa, die in Tampa, you don't have that many other options except to go to college and do something unless you're going to go to a trade school. That is a service industry. People who make money are no longer manufacturing, but are using their intellect and moving money around. That's what a service industry is. Now, in service industries, does everyone have to have a college degree? No, because there's still service positions at your restaurants and stuff like that, but it's a transition from manufacturing to a service industry. Now, there are some major downfalls to leaving manufacturing. One of the biggest is something that we here in the United States should really be afraid of. If we go to World War III in 2022, how prepared are we for war? We're not. Because during World War II, when we declared war, we transitioned all of our car manufacturing and all of our manufacturing facilities from consumer to war. So if we go to war today, do we have enough factories to produce all the things we need immediately? No, that's a huge reason why the U.S. government is slow to engage in a massive conflict. We're also fat, collectively. So we are not war ready, and that is a huge problem the United States government has, because all the men that would be conscripted to war, we have to get them in shape. The funny thing is, I'm teaching World War I in honors right now, and in World War I they had the opposite problem. There were so many underweight people and underfed, especially in Britain, because I showed a movie. I didn't show a movie, but I showed clips. And they were essentially, tons of people were underweight in England, so they had to thicken them up before they could send them off to war. Okay, they had to gain back muscle strength and stuff like that, so we're on the other side of it. Now, because we are a service-based economy, we send our manufacturing to other countries, and this is what you need to write down. Why are we sending our manufacturing to other countries? Come on now, Andrew.
Cheap.
It's cheap. What specifically is cheap?
The labor.
The labor. Americans are some of the highest paid laborers in the world. So we are sending it to newly industrialized countries. And you need to underline newly industrialized. Because, as we know from history, it takes about 100 years for the laws to catch up to protect the worker. So in a newly industrialized country, remember, China's only been industrialized since 1957. Since they've been industrialized, would you want to be a laborer in China? Hell no. However, is it better than it was 10 years ago? Absolutely. Is it better than it was 20 years ago? For sure. It takes about 100 years before the laws kind of catch up. China is no longer the immediate destination for manufacturing. Right now it's Mexico, and you need to acknowledge that. We are sending manufacturing jobs from those service-based economies, or the former industrialized countries, and we're sending them to newly industrialized countries, specifically Mexico, for manufacturing. Okay? And these, okay, that is a huge movement. We're also doing a lot of clothing is coming from Vietnam and Bangladesh. If you start reading your labels, you're going to see that trend is absolutely correct. And that is because they are like just industrialized. When a country industrializes, the first thing they do is textiles, because it's the cheapest and most effective, as well as has a ton of application. Now, the reason why they're going to these countries is because they're newly industrialized and have very low pay as well as low economic standards. So an American company can go in there, throw a bunch of machines, and they don't have to worry about the air quality, the safety, or any of those types of things, quite unlike here in the United States. When we talk about the movement of these products, we're trying to facilitate a thing called free trade. Okay, a free trade agreement. Now, free trade means goods can move between one country and another country without tariffs. Okay? It is to remove limitations. Does that mean you can move anything you want? No. But any type of product. It's supposed to streamline and facilitate faster trade. It's supposed to streamline, facilitate faster trade, and increase worldwide trade. That's what free trade is supposed to do. Okay? It is a very successful new policy the world's kind of adopted. We see versions of this everywhere. NAFTA is a free trade agreement. The EU has a free trade agreement. ASEAN is a free trade agreement, and it's about moving products between. So there are a bunch of pros. We need to understand the pros and the cons of free trade. Here we go. The pros are, okay, that it is going to increase world wealth. Let me try that. It is going to increase world wealth, which is a huge deal. Countries are going to get richer off this. What is the company that makes the most money off of it? What is the wealthiest company in the world? Amazon. Amazon's making crazy money off of the free trade agreements because even though they're an American company, they have versions of different Amazon companies in every country, and they're able to facilitate the movement of the worldwide goods, which is incredibly effective. Okay, you also need to know that it is going to lower government spending. Why? Why does this lower government spending? What now do governments not have to do, Joseph?
Pay for tariffs.
Yeah, well, it's not pay for tariffs to a degree. Yes, they have to pay. They also have to have people going through and checking and looking and keeping track of. And it's a ton of resources that have to go just to maintaining on top of the actual spending on behalf of a government. Because keep in mind, tariffs are paid by the company, not by the government. Does that make sense? But it is the government's responsibility to collect the tariffs. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's not the country. The United States doesn't pay all the tariffs for like Amazon, for instance, because that would be a hell of a job. Finally, another pro is technology transfer. The whole world is going to benefit from faster systems, specifically logistics. Aren't you blown away how fast we can move things in the world today? The fact that I can order something on Amazon and it's at my door in 2 hours blows my mind. I don't do that because I think it's a waste of resources, and if I really need it in 2 hours, I would go get it, you know? But it blows my mind that you can. That's all logistics. And the fact that our economy has slowed down significantly because China's economy shut down for a month and we're still having the effects of it is crazy to me. Like, the black jam of this whole pandemic has fascinated me. And now, the rippling effect of the war in Ukraine. Did you know bread prices have gone up? They're expecting by next week the price of bread is going to go up about 30 cents. Because Russia is the largest producer of grain in the world. Yes. Do you know who's the second? Ukraine. Yeah, isn't that wild? Would you have ever thought about that?
I thought it was too cold.
Too cold?
Yeah.
Well, not the whole country isn't sheltered under it. They have a ton of room, and it's not winter all the time. I mean, maybe in Siberia, but like not in all of it. It does like thaw out. It's a pretty country. I wouldn't go there right now as an American. Things aren't going well, but you could. Now, the major cons of free trade agreements, huh? Yeah, no, this is not the time. Oh, I wasn't even talking Ukraine. I'm talking going to Russia. American citizens keep getting arrested over in Russia. Like, significantly. Got famous women's basketball players trapped in prison right now. And the U.S. government isn't able to confirm.
Go on that train, you really want to go.
I do. I'm gonna have to wait on that dream. It's okay. My husband's really not into it. The Trans-Siberian Railway. Just sitting on a train looking out the window. Okay, so the major cons of free trade agreements is outsourcing of jobs. So the American economy or the domestic economy is going to suffer, and you need to make a note of that. In every country that participates in free trade, the poorer of that country are paying the cost. That's a huge deal. Okay? The poor are losing their jobs. Okay? So, that is the huge player of these things. Middle class and upper class really aren't affected and benefit from it. the lower are going to be the ones suffering, because then they're going to be forced into jobs that are service-based. Okay? You can make good money, good solid money working in a factory, being part of a union. Okay, we all have heard that dream in the 1950s. You work for Ford, you have your nice little house, you have a great middle class life. All of that has been taken away from millions of people across the United States because those manufacturing jobs are gone. And now we're in industries where you have to go to work in order to make it, and those pays are significantly lower. Poor working conditions. These new countries who are popping up with industrialization. Bangladesh is one of the worst places to work right now. And some of these clothing companies. Okay, one of the worst is Shein. How many of you have bought things from Shein? I didn't know. I should have done research, and I bought some things. But now Shein is all over my Instagram, and now I see things. I'm like, oh, that's really cute. Oh, look at that price. That's pretty effective. Damn it, I can't buy it. Huh?
I said it's tough.
It's tough. You gotta be. I think it's important to be aware of these things. So I refuse to buy it. I don't. If you do Forever 21, if you do guava or whatever that, if it's quick fashion or really cheap stuff, it's from Bangladesh, and it is just barely over slave labor. And you know, you are having women are the ones paying the most cost to it, and it's child labor. Especially in Bangladesh, they have a huge child labor problem happening there. So keep that in mind. And degradation of natural resources is going to have a huge impact on our environment. When we're in countries that are newly industrialized, who are making money in huge ways for the first time, they're not taking the time to protect the environment, so they are just releasing chemicals, they are burning incredible amounts of fossil fuels, they don't have the regulations that we do, and even our regulations obviously aren't that great. All right. So, keep in mind, so the World Trade Organization is what you need to know now. Now, the World Trade Organization is going to step in. It is going to be created in the late 70s. Okay, you don't need to know when it's created, but you need to know it comes into power really in the 80s. It has its peak power in the 90s, which is why it gets bombed in 01. Okay, you cannot talk about the World Trade Organization without mentioning 9/11. Because 9/11 is a direct attack on the World Trade Organization because of the abuses. So let's talk about the abuses. Ladies and gentlemen, the World Trade Organization is supposed to facilitate free trade, which means it's supposed to balance and make every country equal in policies. The problem is it falls short of that. It is controlled by the United States. It's the people who run it are always Americans, British, French, German. Oh my God. Is it the Industrialized Powers who control the World Trade Organization? Yes. So guess what all the policies benefit? England, France, US, Germany. We're also going to see that the board members who make the decision of the World Trade Organization are all corporate CEOs. So do they have a vested interest in these policies? Yeah, for sure. Now, keep in mind, the World Trade Organization is also doing some really wonderful things too. Okay? Everything in life has positives and negatives. Like for instance, spring break is incredibly wonderful. But it is so sad that because of spring break, we won't be together. I don't mean that at all, but I was trying to give you an example. I would like a break from you. And from looking at your faces right now and how miserable you are, I would say, specifically Andrew, is ready for spring break. Is that true? Yes. So, the positive things the World Trade Organization has done. It has increased worldwide trade significantly and made lots of countries, lots of money, which increases the quality of life of people. Can we agree? People who have money in their pockets are happier. People who have money in their pockets are not going to turn to terrorism, crime, and other things that make society and living in a society hard. Second good thing about the World Trade Organization, it is going to increase worker safety throughout the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is it as good as it should be? No. There are glaring issues. However, is it better than it was? Yes. Third thing you need to know of positivity about the World Trade Organization, you do need to know that it is going to provide, it does provide economic incentives for nations to improve the quality of lives of women. So, is the World Trade Organization the worst thing in the world? No. Is it the best thing in the world? No, because nothing is. So, both pros and cons. All right. Multinational companies. This is like your go-to answer of late. When we talk about, are we all out, my darling? Here, I'll toss them to you. When we talk about multinational countries, we are talking about countries that exist in multiple places. Now, of course, OG is going to be our EOC and BOC. Okay? The Dutch and the British East India Trade Company. Now, most companies, not most, I mean, I'm not talking about your local small business. Okay? But actually now they're shipping internationally now too. Isn't that wild? Have you ever bought something from Etsy and it comes from a different country? Do you guys not buy things off Etsy? Is that an old person thing?
Not really.
It's an old person thing? Got it.
You know, a lot of like people start like shops on.
Yeah. So I've accidentally bought a bunch of things from Russia. No, I'm not gonna bully you into it, but I was trying to help you out. I've accidentally bought a bunch of stuff from Russia, which for Hank's little kitchen. He has a little kitchen. It's so cute. It's in my living room. What? We want him to like to cook. We love to cook, so he needs to be able to cook. The face you made. It's really cute. It made it like a little oven that looks like an oven. It puts a little dial on it. It's so cute. It's also in my living room, so it has to be attractive. It's super cute now. Anyway, with that being said, when we talk about multinational companies today, this is pretty common for your corporations, not your local businesses, of course. Now, of course, the most famous one is Nestle. Does anyone know why Nestle is the most famous of the multinational? It's because they got into tons and tons of scandal. In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, they went to Africa and told African women to stop breastfeeding their children because that's not the best way to feed them. So they gave them their Nestle formula and said this was better for the babies. So they trained and taught generations of women to stop breastfeeding and pick up formula. Now, there's nothing wrong with formula. Hank had some formula as well growing up. That's not the criticism. The criticism is that they they shamed all these African women into adopting this formula, but they never taught them that they had to clean the bottles a specific way. Formula is a milk byproduct. Milk spoils and creates bacteria that can kill a person. Yes, you've all smelled spoiled milk before. Yes, you know it can turn pretty quickly. When a baby drinks spoiled milk, it infects them and causes diarrhea, and they can die within 3 or 4 days, especially little babies. Well, they never taught the women in Africa that you had to boil your bottles. So the bacteria that was in the nipples of the bottles and in the drains and all that stuff never got cleared. So Nestle is responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths in Africa. So guess what company doesn't sell in Africa much anything anymore? Nestle. Okay, so these multinational companies are companies that have transitioned to money places that necessarily have good things and bad things that happen to them. Pretty much, Africa does not buy Nestle products. Okay, here in America, do we buy Nestle products? Hell yeah! Toll House cookies? That's made by Nestle. Chocolate chips, those little chocolate chips, that's made by Nestle. Okay, now, that company, because of its multi-level, multinational corporation, did Americans really hear about this scandal? No, because they kept it out. They paid lots of money to try to keep it out of Western papers, and it kind of was isolated for a very long time in Africa and didn't make much public policy and change things. However, today it is still relishing from that. It still hasn't fully admitted its problem. Nissan. Nissan is a Japanese company. Did you know Nissan builds cars here in the United States? They're one of the few. It's right off the highway of 95. If you're heading north on 95, it's in like North Carolina or South Carolina. It's right around that border. They build it here. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has factories in other countries, and Coca-Cola tastes a little bit different in every country. Did you know that? They try making it not, but it always does because of the different water qualities that it pulls from. Because it's too expensive to ship full bottles of Coke, and it's very cheap to send the formula, the little, little mix. So what they do is they make all the mix here in the United States, and then they ship it to countries, and then in the countries, they mix it into the local water and then bottle it there to cut down on costs. It's pretty genius. It's pretty common practice at this point. Now, the good thing about multinational corporations are prices are lower for everyone. You need to write this down. Multinational corporations keep prices low. That's why things at Walmart are significantly cheaper than anywhere else. Have you noticed that? Okay? It is because they are selling these products. When they buy from someone, they're not buying 10,000 of them. They're buying 10 billion. And that cuts down the price significantly, which is why their prices are so much lower. Okay? They are going to increase, multinational corporations increase corporate wealth, which means countries that have it have a stronger middle class. You need to know that. So your industrialized countries like the United States that have multinational companies. What's a multinational company that's not American in America? IKEA? Yeah, absolutely. BMW, absolutely. What's another multinational company in the United States that's not American? Oh my God, guys. Seriously, we don't know anything. Izzy? Porsche, absolutely. Ferrari, that is an Italian. What else? Louis Vuitton. Pretty much all of your luxury brands are going to be foreign, of course. Okay, all of those types of things. The reason why they're a positive thing, ladies and gentlemen, is because it does increase the middle class. Now, the problem with it is that it creates tax avoidance. So, people, especially in high tax areas, which the United States is like middle of the ground worldwide, they're going to start claiming taxes in other places in order to avoid taxes. It's the most American thing to do. And then source inputs using child labor. We're going to see that abuses of labor are going to be happening at a much higher rate. Goodbye, guys. Please don't miss me too much. Just kidding. I won't be thinking of you. Have a wonderful day. Oh my God, you people are so damn miserable collectively. Ugh.